Most people believe farming requires perfect soil, rich black dirt, perfect nutrients, careful fertilizers. But for most of human history, farmers didn't have any of that. They grew food in rocky hills, dry plains, and exhausted soil, and they survived using crops that modern agriculture almost forgot. Some of these plants grow in places where corn would die, others rebuild the soil while they grow. Today, we're looking at 5 crops that can produce food even in poor soil conditions, and one of them might be the most underrated food crop in the world. Modern farming depends heavily on fertile soil, but globally, soil quality is declining according to agricultural studies. Large areas of farmland lose nutrients every year due to erosion, chemical overuse, monoculture farming. For backyard gardeners and small farmers, poor soil can feel like an impossible obstacle, but some crops evolve specifically for these harsh environments. They don't just survive poor soil, they thrive in it. First on the list is sorghum. This ancient grain originated in Africa thousands of years ago. It evolved in extremely hot, dry environments with unpredictable rainfall. What makes sorghum special is its root system. It grows deep roots that search for moisture and nutrients far below the surface. It also slows its growth during drought conditions, conserving energy until water returns. Even in poor soil, sorghum can produce impressive harvests. That's why it feeds more than 500 million people worldwide, and yet, in many countries, it remains largely overlooked. Next is the sweet potato. Unlike many crops, sweet potatoes grow underground as tubers. This gives them a huge advantage. Even if the soil isn't rich, the plant can still produce large storage roots. They also spread quickly, covering soil with dense vines. This protects the ground from erosion and helps maintain moisture in tropical and subtropical regions. Sweet potatoes are one of the most reliable food crops available. They grow fast, produce heavily, and tolerate difficult soil conditions surprisingly well. Amaranth might be one of the most fascinating crops ever cultivated. It was once a major food crop of the Aztec civilization. The plant grows tall, produces thousands of tiny seeds, and tolerates heat extremely well, but its biggest advantage is adaptability. Amaranth can grow in poor soil where other grains fail, and nutritionally, it's incredibly powerful. The seeds contain protein, minerals, and essential amino acids that are rare in plant foods. For centuries, it helped sustain entire civilizations. Today, it's slowly returning to modern agriculture. Cowpeas, often called black-eyed peas, are another resilient crop. They belong to a group of plants known as legumes. Legumes have a unique ability. They work with soil bacteria to pull nitrogen from the air and convert it into nutrients for the soil. This means cowpeas don't just survive poor soil, they actually improve it. Farmers often plant them to restore fertility before growing other crops. They also tolerate heat and drought better than many other beans in difficult climates. Cowpeas can be a life-saving crop. Despite the name, Jerusalem artichokes are neither from Jerusalem nor related to artichokes. They are actually a type of sunflower, but underground, they produce edible tubers. And they are nearly impossible to kill. They grow in rocky soil, sandy soil, neglected land. Once planted, they often return year after year without replanting. Because of this resilience, they were once widely used as a reliable food source in difficult conditions. For survival gardening, they are considered one of the easiest crops to grow. Many of these crops share one thing in common. They are incredibly resilient, but resilience isn't always what large-scale agriculture prioritizes. Industrial farming focuses on crops that transport well, process, easily fit into global supply chains. Crops like corn and wheat dominate the system. Meanwhile, many resilient traditional crops remain underutilized, yet as climate patterns shift and soil challenges grow, these forgotten plants may become more important again. For thousands of years, human survival depended on crops that could tolerate difficult conditions. They grew in poor soil, they survived drought, they produced food when other plants failed. Today, we often overlook these resilient crops in favor of more fragile ones. But as the challenges of modern agriculture increase, these forgotten plants might offer valuable solutions. Sometimes the strongest crops are the ones we stop paying attention to. If you want to learn more about resilient farming, forgotten crops, and ancient agricultural knowledge, subscribe to Legacy Harvest. Because the future of food might already exist in the past.